Welcome to today's explainer. Right off the bat, I want you to basically forget everything you thought you knew about Epicureanism. We're going to completely dismantle the modern myth of Epicurus today. When you hear that name, you probably have a really specific image pop into your head, right? But we're going to dive into the actual historical sources to reveal a philosopher whose real teachings are going to completely flip your perspective on what it means to live a truly good life.
If you look up the word Epicurean in a modern dictionary right now, it describes a foodie, a hedonist who's just totally obsessed with luxury, indulgence, and endless feasts. You think of a culinary connoisseur chasing the finest wines, the richest meals, and this unbroken succession of sensory thrills. Over the centuries, we've essentially hijacked his name to sell $500 tasting menus and overpriced charcuterie boards.
But here's the massive plot twist. The historical Epicurus, he was actually a celibate vegetarian who thought that surviving on simple bread and water was the absolute height of pleasure. Seriously, he taught that plain fare gives just as much joy as some ridiculously expensive diet once the actual pain of hunger is removed. He wasn't about endless indulgence at all. He realized that what can't ever be satisfied isn't the human stomach, but rather our false, incredibly toxic belief that the stomach requires unlimited filling. So to really grasp this total paradigm shift, we have to look at his actual ethical theory. It reveals that Epicurus wasn't interested in chasing highs, not at all. He was interested in achieving complete invulnerability to pain. The scholar Philip Mitsis actually hit the nail on the head when he called this the pleasures of invulnerability. Epicurus was entirely focused on building an impenetrable fortress for the human mind. He broke true, lasting pleasure down into two totally passive states. First, you have aponia, which simply means a body completely from physical pain. But then even more importantly, there's ataraxia. That translates roughly to a robust tranquility. We're talking about a mind that is just perfectly free from anxiety and fear. So the absolute key takeaway here is that true Epicureanism isn't about adding more and more luxurious stimulation to your life. It's about subtracting all the junk that secretly troubles your body and your soul. Epicurus famously said, "The magnitude of pleasure reaches its limit in the removal of all pain." Think about how radical that is for a second. He's arguing that once you subtract pain and pare down your desires to only what is natural and biologically necessary, you've already hit the absolute ceiling of human joy. Got basic food, shelter, and water? Boom, you're at maximum happiness. Any luxury stacked on top of that doesn't actually increase your baseline of pleasure, it just varies it. And honestly, it usually just introduces new, completely unnecessary anxieties about losing those very same luxuries. Because of this framework, Epicurus viewed philosophy in a really unique way. He didn't see it as abstract theorizing or just arguing for the sake of looking smart. To him, it was a deeply practical form of mental therapy designed specifically to cure the false beliefs causing us psychological distress. Literally, if a philosophical argument didn't heal the suffering of the human soul, Epicurus thought it was completely useless. Philosophy was the medicine required to hit that ultimate state of ataraxia. To actually administer this therapy, he developed what's known as the tetrapharmacamus, or the four-part cure. These are principle doctrines designed to systematically destroy human anxieties. Let's walk through them. Number 1, the divine brings no trouble, meaning the gods aren't up there waiting to strike you down. Number 2, death is nothing to us. Number 3, true pleasure is actually easy to obtain. And number 4, extreme pain is easy to endure. Epicurus argued that if you can deeply internalize these 4 principles, you basically inoculate yourself against the vast majority of human misery. Let's zero in on that 4th cure for a second, because it's a game changer. He challenges us to realize that our undisciplined imaginations and our intense, spiraling dread of future pain actually cause us way more harm than any physical pain we might ever experience. He pointed out that extreme physical pain is usually very short-lived, right? And chronic pain is generally mild enough that you can still experience mental pleasures. It is our dread of what might happen, our endless worrying about our jobs, our status, our health, that absolutely destroys our tranquility. He applies this exact same strict logic to our ultimate human anxiety, death itself. He states, "Death is nothing to us, for the body, when it has been resolved into its elements, has no feeling, and that which has no feeling is nothing to us." Since death is just the total absence of sensation, it has a moral value of absolute 0, so it's totally irrational to fear it. Sure, it's the absence of good, but it's also the permanent absence of all evil and pain. Fearing a state where you won't even exist to feel anything is just a massive waste of the happiness you could be experiencing right now. By using very sober, grounded reasoning to search out the actual why behind our choices, we can banish these terrifying beliefs, and that secures a profound freedom and tranquility. It's not through checking out or passive ignorance that we find peace, it's by actively applying philosophical logic. When we deliberately examine what we actually desire and why, we build self-sufficiency. We gain this incredible confidence about the future that defines true freedom.
Now, you might be thinking this all sounds like a very solitary, monastic thing to do, but this philosophy wasn't meant to be practiced alone in a cave. Epicurus founded a physical community just outside of Athens known as the Garden, where everyday life itself was the philosophical practice. It wasn't some rigid, stuffy school with desks and formal lectures like Plato's Academy. It was this thriving, living sanctuary. Just eating simple meals, engaging in deep conversation, and genuinely caring for one another, that was exactly how they achieved the good life.
And what is absolutely mind-blowing about the Garden was its radical inclusivity. Think about this. In a time when education was strictly reserved for elite, wealthy men, the Garden was an unprecedented sanctuary welcoming women, slaves, and people from all social classes to learn together. In ancient Greece? No way! That was completely unheard of. Epicurus built a community around the fundamental belief that the pursuit of wisdom and happiness wasn't some exclusive aristocratic privilege. It was a basic human right. Inside the Garden, they practiced what he considered the ultimate key to a good life. Epicurus wrote, "Of all the means which are procured by wisdom to ensure happiness throughout the whole of life, by far the most important is the acquisition of friends." He genuinely believed the true engine of happiness wasn't a luxurious table of delicacies, but the simple, daily cultivation of deep friendships. Having trusted companions was infinitely more valuable than any physical thing you could own. In fact, on his own deathbed, while suffering immense physical pain, Epicurus actually wrote a letter to a friend expressing profound joy simply by remembering all the wonderful philosophical conversations they had shared. Which brings us to the ultimate question for us today. Knowing that true joy is actually found in absolute simplicity and human connection, rather than endless excess, what false, exhausting desires can you pare away today to finally get some peace of mind? Are you burning yourself out chasing an unbroken succession of sensory thrills? Or can you find profound ataraxia in a simple glass of water, a piece of bread, and the laughter of a really good friend? Thank you so much for exploring the true historical Epicurus with me on today's Explainer. I hope this helps you cultivate your very own tranquil garden.